This is a dihybrid cross. Now, a monohybrid cross means that you're crossing one characteristic. And when you're crossing one characteristic, you're going to have two alleles from the mom. So one from her mother and one from her father, okay? And two alleles from the father. So one from his mother and one from his father. Okay, so there's always going to be, remember the gametes are only going to have one allele for that characteristic. So, I mustn't use hair or eye color, but it's the ones we use regularly anyway. In this case, we're looking at a prickly pear, but it doesn't matter what we're looking at. Okay, we're crossing two, so we're looking at leaves, whether they're long or short. Okay, and we are looking at a thick cuticle or a thin cuticle. So they're telling you here R, always the capital letter, is dominant, and the T, capital T, is dominant over short, which is going to be clearly a small r, and thin cuticle will be a small t. All right, now they say plant 1 with heterozygous long leaves, which means it's going to be capital R, lowercase r, and thin cuticle. So if it's a thin cuticle, it means that it must have two recessive alleles. So it's going to be little t, all right? Was crossed with a plant 2 with a genotype capital R, small r, capital T. So this would be heterozygous for long leaves and heterozygous for thin cuticle. So heterozygous, okay, for that, and heterozygous for that. Now, name the type of crossing between 1 and 2. It's a dihybrid cross. Monohybrid, 1. Mono means 1. Di means 2. Hybrid means a mixture, because you're mixing a male and a female, the male and female gametes, to make this new offspring. Okay? Write down all the possible gametes for plant 1. Well, that's easy. If we look at plant 1, they tell us long leaves, but they're heterozygous, so it's got to be that. And it has a thin cuticle, which means it must have two recessive alleles. Okay, because if they even had one recessive allele and one dominant allele, well, you're not going to be able to see the thin cuticle. Okay, you would see the thick cuticle. Why? Because the thick cuticle dominates over the thin cuticle. Alrighty, so all the possible, we're going to have capital R and lowercase r, and we're going to have lowercase t and lowercase t. So what do we see here? We're going to have heterozygous and we're going to have homozygous. Right, now state Mendel's law that ensures the presence of one allele for a characteristic in a gamete. And that law is your law of segregation. Segregation. Okay, remember your little Punnett square for your monohybrid crosses? Okay, you're going to have R and R and T and T. There you go. So you're going to have R and T, R and T, R and T, and R and T. Okay, but this is going to end up in a gamete, that's going to end up in a gamete, and this one and that one. And that's how it works, people. You're always going to have those combinations. Alrighty, now let me just clear this. No, man, why is my eraser not working like it's supposed to? There we go. Alrighty, now I need blue. Write down the phenotype, which means what you can see physically. See. Okay, remember, pH for pheno and pH for physical. So your phenotype of plant 2, what are you going to be able to see? Now, if we look at plant 2, it's capital R, lowercase r, capital T, lowercase t. So, and remember, what I'm doing here now applies to anything that you are going to be doing. So, and we know that the R's tell us the long leaves, and if it's dominant, we're going to have long leaves. And that is again dominant T. Means it's going to have a thick cuticle. And really, all you need to do is read here, because all your information is sitting here. All right? Then what is the expected phenotypic ratio of the offspring in a cross between plant 1 and plant 2? So now, if we look at plant 1 and plant 2, plant 1, sorry, let me just go back here. Plant 1 would have been R, R, and T, T. So it would have been R, R, and T, T, crossed with plant 2, which would have been capital R, lowercase r, capital T, lowercase t. So just have a look at what crosses we're going to end up with here. We've got our R's, we've got our lowercases, and we've got one dominant over here. At the end of the day, we're going to end up with 3 long and thick leaves. Okay? And we're going to have 3 long and thin. And we're going to have 1 short and thick. Remember, we're talking about cuticles here. Thick, and we're going to have 1 short and thin. All you do is you look at this here. Okay?